Join Drs. Savanah Craig and Ronnetta Sartor as we navigate life beyond graduation. Real conversations about forging our own paths in our early years in our careers. There's a reason it's called practicing dentistry. All right. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Beyond Graduation. I am Savanah Craig. With me as always.
I keep going really fast. I'm just so excited to be here. I'm Ronnetta Sartor, guys. Back again.
So like we said, season 3, we are a little more vulnerable and real with y'all. I don't know if you'll like it or not, but we're just out here podcasting. But over at Ignite, we are sort of narrowing our focus a little bit more to focus on our self-determined futures and helping people in our spheres, helping dental offices get to their self-determined future. And that is a very broad topic. What our goal is at Ignite is to build these self-determined futures, which allows people to align their values, drive their vision, and control their path forward into whatever that looks like for them. So we thought we would share a little bit about our self-determined futures, or what we hope those might look like, and how we are working towards that, today. So, Ronnetta, what would you say your definition of a self-determined future is?
It's a really good question. And I do think that it's evolved over time. And I think it's going to continue to evolve.
Absolutely.
As I get to be in different places of life. But right now, my self-determined future is being in a place where I'm in harmony and at peace and healthy and happy. And that's in every aspect of my life. But everything is connected, just like the body, right? So it would mean that as a new practice owner, because we call it a kickstart office, right? So it's not so much a startup, but it's not one that was like doing its thing, right? The person that I bought the office from, he was in his retirement years and got hurt. So pretty much he was slowing down a whole bunch. So the early years of my practice and being an owner, I'm having to put in more work to ramp the office back up.
Okay.
And so with that being said, I know that on my road and journey to a self-determined future, it has to start with the office, and it has to start with getting the office to the vision that I see it to be. And that means, reaching a certain production goal, but also reaching and having the team to have the support possible. And in doing that, I'm able to get to balance and that sort of thing on a personal level too. It's almost like it's happening at the same time too, because in order for me to be able to ramp the office up, and you and I were just talking about this, like my body has to be able to withstand it. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that I'm not sure if we've shared on a podcast, but I have a back injury that I didn't know I had until maybe 4 years into practice. And so for me, what eventually get to my self-determined future, what that looks like is, in order to go in my personal life and in my professional life, is I have to have chiropractor appointments frequently. I have to, have massages done frequently. I have to, do yoga and do things to be kind to my body frequently. I have to eat well in order to do those things. But if I don't do those things, like we said, it's like a balancing act, right? If I don't do those things to keep myself up, then, the office will not be able to sustain, because I'm a solo practitioner.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I'm not there, what happens, you know? Um, my team can only do so much without me being there.
Yep.
And so eventually it's the light at the end of the tunnel, having balance between those two worlds and seeing both, you know, me being able to do things in my personal life that I want to do with the people that I love, and doing it in a pain free and healthy environment. Um, what about you, Savannah?
Ooh. I think right now, and life is always going to be this way, but I'm seeing multiple self-determined futures that, you know, culminate on something else. There's all these little like things that need to happen and work out to achieve that bigger goal. I think right now, obviously it's always going to change, but right now my big self-determined future goal is having the flexibility and freedom to do what I want when I want. Sounds crazy, but basically, right?
That's
To
goals, though, right?
yeah, for everybody.
Yeah, it's goals.
And to shape my clinical practice to fit my life more so than the opposite way around, I think is a major goal, whatever that might look like someday. But it is all about balance. And we were just talking about, do you grind and go pedal to the metal right now so that in 10, 15 years, whatever, can slow down completely? Or is there a way to find that balance sooner rather than later? I think a conversation I've been having a lot with Adam and family and things. As a society, we have this vision of retirement and we're just done working and all of these things. But how do you, when you've spent all of your life going to school, working, if you don't have these hobbies and skills to relax and do these other things, the day you suddenly stop working, you're not going to know what to do with yourself. And I've watched relatives and family members do these things where they worked so hard to retire, and then retirement happens and they're watching TV all the time and they're not doing all of these things that they wanted to do. And like the idea that I would just put my nose to the ground for the next 30 years and not do anything enjoyable so that at 65 I can live this crazy life. I just don't think that's realistic. I would rather find the balance and do, you know, your health and physical health is not going to be the same at 65
It's
as it
not.
is right now.
You always see the meme of like, I always see the meme of it's like an older couple that's finally in France,
Yeah.
like in the water in the little boat, and they're both sleeping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's the thing. If you want to do, our goals is to check off all the national parks. We're not going to be able to hike Angel's Landing in Zion at 70. I hope so, but you know,
Mm-hmm.
and so trying to figure out all of that balance is part of my self-determined future, to, you know, live in the moment but also prepare for the future.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I've been talking about a lot with a variety of people in my life, there's this opportunity to partner into the practice that I'm in, and I'm very excited about that. And then also, you know, buying a house at some point, and all of these different decisions that
Grown
you
up decisions.
grown up decisions, um and they're going to impact the future. They're going to, but you got to decide now, I don't, it's just, there's too many things all at the same time, all the time. And trying to find what is the right answer for you. Do you, like we said, do you grind and save for retirement and then who knows what retirement looks like? Or do you do a little bit here and now and everywhere?
Yeah, I think for me it's a balance of both, right?
Yeah.
Um a balance of both, and I think there's going to be certain times in your life where work gets more than, personal. Um but you don't want it to get so much that you get burnt out,
Mm-hmm.
like looking in the future, I don't foresee a time where I would completely retire from dentistry because I love it so much.
Yeah.
I don't know that anything could replace the relationships that I build with my patients, or just the feeling that you get, like just knowing that you help someone in whatever way possible, whether it's smile transformation or just getting them out of pain. um
Mm-hmm.
I think gardening feels that way for me, but it's not the same,
Yeah.
because I can be out there in my garden for hours, but by myself,
Yeah.
just me and the plants. I talk to the plants,
Absolutely.
and that's it. um
Absolutely.
but it may be where I cut back,
Yeah.
in the very like long future,
Yeah.
but it's interesting because I could see a future where I cut back, but I'm also there and kind of mentoring and creating that community. So if my nieces, or if one day I have children and they want to be dentists, like I think it will be really really cool to like have that generational type mentorship, but like community. And I think that would, I think, keep me young and want to keep practicing.
Yeah. I think another piece of this is this idea of delayed gratification when
Mm-hmm.
thinking about your self-determined future. And I think this is where I was trying to go with the practice in the house is a lot of people are like, why are you doing all of this like right now, all at the same time? And it's like, well, I'm finally in a position that I can do these
Mm-hmm.
things, and I'm about to be 30, and not that that's like, you know, it's fine, but you think about your friends who just did a 4-year degree, not just, but did a 4-year degree and started their careers. I'm really 5 years later in starting, my first real job and those sorts of things. So it makes sense that some of these things are now a little bit more accelerated because I spent my 20s in school.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do think there's that balance with being in this type of profession where you can finally now do these things, but how much of it and how quickly and how will that impact your future? And do you just, Adam and I have had this conversation, do we just keep renting? Should we just delay the whole thing even further? And he's like, please, please let me have a workshop. I don't know the answer, and nobody does, but
No, I think we're all just trying to do what we think is best and trying to find balance on our way.
yeah. And I do think priorities are always going to change. What we need to do to get towards our self-determined future is going to change at different seasons, and what we want out of our self-determined future can change with different priorities. But one thing I think we were talking about very openly and honestly before we started recording is at the point we're in our careers, clinical dentistry is still a huge piece of what we need to do to get towards those goals. And maybe at some point someday, other things might come in that can be other income streams. But not only do we both really like what we do and like clinical dentistry, but we got to pay the bills, dude.
Yeah, I think you bring up a really important like aspect, right? So like we talk about investments and that sort of thing. Well, our dental education was a huge investment. Like
Mm-hmm.
we were in school forever, it seemed like, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so
And
that
paid a
was the
lot of
investment.
money.
Right. So a lot of money, a lot of hours, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that we put into it. So it's like right now in our careers, we're both less than 10 years out of dental school. So it's not an option to not practice.
Truly.
So it might mean, if I'm having a bad back day, I'm figuring some stuff out, putting some ointment on, and hopefully praying it doesn't smell too bad and my patients don't smell it, to make sure that I'm being able to be present and do what I need to do. And not only for my patients, but to make sure that this baby practice that I just bought gets a chance to grow up,
Yeah. And to take care of your family and your life
my
as
garden.
well. Your garden.
I need money to like.
Seeds cost money.
Right. Seeds cost
Exactly.
money. I've got to be able to have my tools to prune and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah.
Pierogi and Gnocchi, they need toys.
Do they ever? They got to eat. Yeah. I think it's one of those things of we are well compensated as dentists and we work really hard for what we do, but that education wasn't cheap. We gotta spin that handpiece and make that money, and that's just what it is for now so that we can get to that self-determined future.
You bring up some really good points. This is quite the interesting topic. I imagine 6 months from now when we're on here talking, I'm sure that our self-determined futures will likely have altered slightly.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a very good talking point. So to our listeners, we are 100% interested to hear what your current self-determined future is. Do you know what it is? Are you on the journey of figuring out what it looks like to you? If you are, that's fine. We just told you that we're still trying to figure it out too.
And if there's anything we can do to help, get you on that right path or in the right direction, at least, please reach out. If you are a practice owner or a new associate and you're trying to build your practice to get you pointed towards your self-determined future, please reach out to us, reach out to Ignite. We talk a lot about there being sort of 3 areas that have to be in alignment to get you in that right direction. So we talk about your people, your process, and your financial controls. And so if you'd like to learn more about that or learn more about getting those things in the right shape to get you where you want to go, please reach out to us or Ignite DDS. We've got excellent coaches, mentors, and people to guide you towards what you want for your future. If any of that sounds good to you, please feel free to reach out to me at Savanah Craig DDS.
And
on
you can
Instagram.
reach me at Dr._Sartor.
Until next time.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Beyond Graduation. If you enjoyed this week's episode, be sure to share it with a friend. Connect with us on social media at Savanah Craig DDS and at Dr._Sartor. And remember, you are not alone on this journey.
Thank you for listening to Beyond Graduation, brought to you by Ignite DDS and Future Dentists. This episode was sponsored by Ignite DDS Coaching. We build self-determined futures. For more information, please reach out to the Ignite DDS team.